Security Now Illustrated by AskMisterWizard.com, illustrating concepts, mechanisms, and algorithms from the amazing Security Now podcast by Steve Gibson and Leo LaPorte. This is episode 8, DDoS attacks. How Internet villains attack an Internet connection to deny access, from September 2005. This is segment B on distributed attacks. As he developed Security Now episode 8, Steve introduced distributed attacks by reviewing the current state of affairs among bot fleets. It is now commonplace, he explained, for malware to infect large numbers of computers with command and control viruses. Infected computers periodically access some obscure command server somewhere within the worldwide internet to ask for instructions. Most of the time, they are instructed to resume normal, routine operation while concealing their infection, and while the fleet of infected computers quietly grows. Some of these fleets of infected computers number in the hundreds or in the thousands. During recent years, some have even been known to grow into hundreds of thousands of infected computers. The operators of these fleets rent them out for a fee. Malevolent hackers or organized criminals can then remotely command them by the thousands when necessary to follow their orders, transforming them temporarily into mindless bots for use in a distributed denial-of-service attack. For our purposes in this segment, we shall assume that the workstations on LANs labeled A, B, and C in this illustration have become infected and are susceptible to becoming bots as described, along with thousands of others at various locations throughout the worldwide internet.
In this scenario, this large group of computers are all told to attack a single end user, whether it's a website or an individual. And so what happens is this distributed set of machines all start sending traffic. It doesn't even have to be, in this case, a SYN packet. And in fact, I was not attacked with a SYN flood. I was attacked just with good old pings, just enough ping packets, the so-called ICMP. What that did was it flooded my bandwidth so that my connection to the internet was congested, and that's a scenario that you were talking about, where if enough of these, several hundred machines were all pinging my web server at the same time, then normal bandwidth trying to access my website was no longer able to get there. So anywhere that you had a choke point in the bandwidth, and it might have even been like a router upstream of me, because the idea is that packets are flooding in from all over the internet, and they're sort of converging. You can think of it sort of as a convergence down to a single point. And in fact, an analogy that I've used is if you put your hand out in the sunlight, it feels fine. It's warm. Hands were meant to handle sunlight. That's no problem. But if you take a magnifying glass and hold it over your hand, focusing essentially that same amount of sunlight down to a single point, suddenly you start seeing a little smoke and some charred flesh because that same amount of sunlight now focused down to a single point. Similarly, internet traffic, if it's focused to a single point, all being directed at a single target, that target's just gone. It's off the internet.
The original audio-only version of this podcast can be found on the Gibson Research Corporation site at grc.com/securitynow. This clip illustrates some of the highlights from that show. This video clip comes from a large collection of related clips. All are indexed and easy to find at www.askmisterwizard.com, along with related items, text articles, illustrations, and forums. Please visit us today. We appreciate your support. Thank you.